Every year, thousands of people retire to Winston-Salem, chasing great healthcare, low taxes, and a fresh start. But there's mistakes that keep showing up, and it's the fastest way to turn that dream into a daily frustration. I've helped hundreds of retirees make this move, so today I'm breaking down the biggest error they make when moving to Winston-Salem. Stick around until the end to see what the #1 mistake is. Okay, you know those nights when it's 2 a.m. and you're trying to make it downstairs without turning on a single light because you don't want to wake up your spouse. It's one of those everyday moments people forget to consider when they're caught up in the fun of house hunting. When you're touring homes, walking upstairs feels easy. You've got adrenaline going, you're excited about the new place. Those steps to the primary bedroom, well, they don't seem like a big deal. But think about carrying things up and down, like your laundry, for example. Think about those stairs when you're not feeling great or when something might hurt. Our bodies change. What works at 52 or 62, well, it might not work as well at 72. I had a client in his retirement years who bought a 2-story home because he loved the view from the upstairs window. The house was on a hill with a basement garage. Within 5 years, he had to install a chairlift just to get around his own house. And those stairs became a daily battle. And that battle shows up in other ways too. Buying more house than you actually need can turn into its own struggle, especially once you factor in the tax implications. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. Now, some people tell me they can put in a chairlift or an elevator later. And that's an option. Or you could get a house with a primary bedroom on the first floor. That solves the problems for a lot of people. And by the way, you can have a main level bedroom and maybe at the time the primary is upstairs. Just saying. These just use the upstairs for storage or for guests or temporarily in the immediate for you, and then you can move downstairs. But here's what I've learned. The people who are the happiest long-term bought the single-level ranch from the get-go. No modifications needed, no compromises later, and to be clear, there are reasons people choose multi-story homes. Some have big families that visit and need extra space. I've even sold 3-story houses to retirees, and those homes had elevators to all 3 floors, and completely workable for that reason. Condos on upper levels can work fine if there's an elevator. The key is thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Your home should adapt to you, not the other way around. Now, stairs might be fixable, but there's another issue that sneaks up on people during the buying process itself. Let's check it out. Moving with cash and thinking it gives you an advantage. All right, so that pile of cash from selling your northern home might actually be costing you deals. A lot of retirees move here with cash, and they sold their house up north, and they think that makes them stronger buyers than someone who is perhaps getting a mortgage. Cash is king, right? Here's the reality. Sometimes that cash actually hurts you. I've had clients lose out on properties time and time again because they thought their cash offer meant that they could take their time. They figured sellers would wait for their all-cash deal. Meanwhile, someone with a pre-approved mortgage came in with a clean offer and, well, they beat them to it. And if losing out on property scares you, stay with me, because at the end, I'm revealing the #1 mistake retirees make. I'll get there soon, I promise. Now, here's the bigger issue. In North Carolina, when you make an offer, you put down due diligence money and there's still earnest money. But the real commitment money is due diligence money. And some buyers from other states don't realize that. And so they oftentimes are not willing to put down a strong due diligence and only want to put down that earnest money. But candidly, due diligence money is what the real commitment is to the seller. So I've seen cash buyers from up north make offers without proper due diligence because they thought cash meant they had all the leverage. So if they found something up, during the inspection that they didn't like, they could maybe structure the deal so that they could protect themselves. But they oftentimes lose out because cash is lovely advantage, but if you don't use it right, well, you'll never get your property. See, strong due diligence money matters. So even a buyer with a pre-approved getting a mortgage with a solid offer and strong due diligence, well, it will beat cash every time. So work with someone who knows our local market. Before we move on, look, I make these videos because I've seen too many retirees make the same costly moves when they buy here. And I want to avoid all of that for you. If this is helping you, reach out and send me a message so we can talk through your retirement plans and figure out what makes the most sense for you. My contact is in the description below. Now, speaking of expensive mistakes, let me tell you about the one that affects your wallet every single year. Okay, so $4,300 in annual property taxes on a $400,000 house sounds amazing if you're paying triple that up north, until you realize you bought twice the house you actually need. Here's what I see all the time. People move here from New York or New Jersey or Connecticut, places where property taxes are over 3%, and they're used to paying incredible tax bills. They get to Winston-Salem, and the combined Forsyth County tax rate is like 1.1 per $100 of assessed value. So basically 1%. And they can't believe it. I mean, that's a big upgrade. So they're coming from a modest 3-bedroom that maybe costs $600,000, and they see the same house here for like $275,000, just below the current median sales price. And they think they hit the jackpot. So they buy the 5-bedroom, 3,500 square foot house because they can. Then reality hits. The kids don't visit as often as they thought. They've got rooms they literally never use. Their heating and cooling bills are higher. And even though property taxes are lower here, that bigger house costs more in taxes every year. North Carolina offers the elderly or disabled exclusion for homeowners 65 and older. If your income qualifies under $37,900 for 2025, the program excludes $25,000 or 50% of your home's appraised value from taxation. That's a real safety net for those who meet the requirement. Here's my advice. Buy the life you're actually going to live. You don't need a huge house to impress anyone. Downsizing isn't giving up, it's being smart about where your money goes. And that's especially true when you consider what Winston-Salem's climate will ask of you year-round. Let me show you what I mean. I hear constantly, we visited in April and it was perfect. Then August rolls around and they're wondering why nobody warned them. I see this pattern all the time. People move from up north to Florida thinking they'll love year-round sunshine. Then they realize it is way too hot for that. So too monotonous, if you will, they miss the seasons. So they move halfway back to Winston-Salem. Cleverly, we call them halfbacks. Or they visit here when the weather's perfect. Things are in blooming, temperature is in the 70s, everything looks like a postcard. They fall in love, buy a house, and suddenly they're hit with that summer humidity that they just weren't prepared for. Let me give you the reality. We get all 4 seasons here. Winter lasts about 2 to 3 months, from late November, early December, basically through mid-February. January averages, 28 to 31 degrees, highs in the low 40s, maybe mid 40s. We get 6 inches of snow or so a year, and it usually melts quickly, although some years like this year, not so much. The city shuts down completely when it snows. But it's not a huge deal because, again, it doesn't last forever. Spring and fall are our best seasons. Spring runs basically late February, early March, all the way through May. Fall gives you a solid 2 months of crisp mornings, warm afternoons, mid-September or so, early to mid-September, all the way through Thanksgiving. But summer is where it gets real. We hit 88 to 90 degrees on average, and the humidity in August reaches approximately 68%. That combination makes it feel way hotter than the thermostat says. And if you're coming from Florida to escape heat, Winston-Salem summers might surprise you. If you're coming from up north and you love the seasons, you'll be happy. But if you have respiratory issues and are heat sensitive, that summer humidity matters. Here's what I recommend. Visit in all of the seasons. Come in July. See what that humidity feels like. Talk to people who actually live here year-round. Don't make a decision based on one perfect weekend in spring. And while we're on the topic of respiratory health, there's something about spring here that catches people's completely off guard. Underestimating the pollen season. Okay, so here's the thing. Those gorgeous oak and maple trees that make Winston-Salem look like a postcard are the same reason you'll be washing yellow dust off your car every morning in April. Late March through April, you're going to see pollen coating everything. Your car gets covered overnight. You wash it, and by the next morning, it looks like someone dumped yellow dust all over it again. Oak pollen peaks in early April and creates the highest pollen levels of the year. Cedar, maple, pine, and birch, well, they all contribute too. The Forsyth County Office of Environmental Assistance and Protection monitors pollen levels. These typically resume reporting in February when tree pollen season kicks off and continues through October. If you've never had allergies before, which I hadn't, there's a decent chance you might develop them here. I know multiple people who moved to Winston-Salem allergy-free. 6 months later, they're dealing with runny noses, sneezing, itching eyes, the whole deal. For me, it was I would get intermittent colds, or what I thought were intermittent colds, and realize, well, that's allergies. Now, some locals swear by eating local honey to build up tolerance. I don't know if it actually works, but at least you're supporting local beekeepers. The good news is that the highest pollen concentrations are very concentrated in about a 3 to 4 week period from late March through mid-April, with the overall tree pollen season running from February through the end of May or so. The rest of the year, air quality here is good to moderate, way better than major metros. And if you've got asthma or other respiratory conditions, just factor in this into your decision. It's not a deal breaker for most people, but you need to know about it up front, make your own decision. 3 weeks of yellow cars is a small price for living somewhere with actual beautiful lush trees and seasons. Now, if respiratory is a concern, you'll want to know more about the medical resources available here. Most retirees moving here can name one hospital system. The smart ones can name 2. Almost nobody researches all 3. See, Winston-Salem is a regional healthcare hub with 2 major nationally recognized hospital systems and 1 rapidly expanding regional provider. Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist is the region's only level 1 adult and pediatric trauma center, home to Atrium Health Levine Children's Brenner's Children's Hospital. It features an NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center. The comprehensive package includes advanced trauma care, pediatric specialization, and oncology expertise. This is where you want to be if something serious happens. Novant Health operates Forsyth Medical Center, a 921-bed regional medical center with an excellent reputation and solid care. But here's what people miss. They get locked in on one hospital. They assume Baptist is the only game in town, or they're loyal to Novant from wherever they moved from. And they don't do the research on all 3 options. Wait, 3? Yeah. See, Cone Health has expanded into Winston-Salem with multiple urgent care centers offering non-emergency care. That's your 3rd option for non-emergency care. A lot of people don't even know it exists. Before you buy, research all 3 hospital systems. See which one takes your insurance, look at which specialists they have, check where their locations are compared to maybe where you're thinking of living. And when we get to the biggest mistakes in a few minutes, you'll see how some communities limit your healthcare choices in ways you'd never expect. Stick around. Now, if you're in Clemens and your primary care doctor is on the east side near Kernersville, that's a 25+ minute drive each way. Might not seem like a lot, right? But when you're going to appointments more than twice a month, it adds up. Some people also buy in rural pockets that are over 25 minutes or so from the major hospital. That distance matters as you get older. Do your research on all 3 systems. Don't just pick one and assume that's your only option. And that distance issue goes way beyond just getting to the doctor. Let me explain. Choosing the wrong location relative to downtown? You know what 20 minutes feels like when you're 68 and don't drive at night anymore? Like living on a different planet from downtown. Here's something that trips people up. Locals talk about a neighborhood being 5-10 minutes from downtown. And newcomers think, well, that's nothing. When you're coming from someplace that's 15 minutes to a short commute, used to sitting in traffic for an hour. So they buy a house that's 20 or 25 minutes from downtown, thinking it's not a really big deal. But here's what happens. You settle in, and at first it's fine, no big deal. Then you realize that every time you want to go to a good restaurant downtown, you're driving 25 minutes. Every time you want to catch up or grab a coffee in the Innovation Quarter, you're in the car for about an hour round trip. After 6 months, you're not going to downtown as much. After a year, you barely go at all. Let me give you some context. Within a 1-mile radius of downtown Winston-Salem, there are nearly 9,500 residents and over 27,000 employees. There are 85 restaurants and coffee shops, 36 bars and nightclubs, 84 galleries and shops. Downtown scores a 70 on the walk score, which means most errands can be done on foot. The Innovation Quarter right in downtown has transformed into an amazing dining and cultural district. Multiple breweries downtown now, over 120 dining options, Alma Mexicana, Incendiary Brewing Company, Cranky's Coffee, all packed into a walkable area. If you're in West End, Ardmore, or Buena Vista, you're 5 minutes from all of this. Those inner ring neighborhoods put you close enough to actually use what downtown offers. But if you're out in Clemens or Louisville, you're 15, maybe 20 minutes away. And that changes how often you actually go. Here's what I recommend. Think about your daily life. How often do you want to go out to dinner? Do you like live music? Do you want to walk to a coffee shop? If you value being close to the action, pay the premium, and it's a minor premium, to live in the inner ring. If you're happy with a quieter suburban life and don't mind the drive when you go out, then the outer areas, they might be perfect. But don't fool yourself into thinking 20 minutes isn't that far in Winston-Salem, where traffic is light and locals can get anywhere in 15 minutes. That extra distance matters. The people who are happiest match their location to their actual lifestyle. Now, no matter where you choose to live, there's one decision that affects everything about your daily freedom. Let me show you the #1 mistake. Okay, $150 a month to store an RV because you can't park it in your own driveway. Well, that's what happens when you assume retirement means HOA living. Here it is. The biggest mistake retirees make when moving to Winston-Salem. They think they have to be in a 55+ community or a neighborhood with an HOA. Lock and leave living, someone else handles the lawn, everything's maintained. It sounds perfect, right? Then they move in and realize those communities come with restrictions they didn't think about. Let me tell you what happened with a couple I worked with. They moved into a beautiful community. 3 months in, they went to park their RV in the driveway so they could load up for a trip. They said no overnight RV parking allowed. It was right there in the RCs that they signed at closing, but they didn't pay attention. Now they're paying $150 a month to store that RV at a facility 15 minutes away. Another client couldn't put up Christmas decorations the way they wanted. The HOA rules were very strict about what they could and couldn't display and when. HOA fees in Winston-Salem for single-family subdivisions typically range from at least $25 to $150 a month, approximately $300 to $1,800 annually. Condos and townhomes typically range from more like $200 to $500 a month, depending on the amenities and the location. Here's what most people don't realize. You could hire a third-party landscaper for way less than those monthly HOA dues. You get a well-maintained yard without someone telling you what color you can paint your front door. Now, I'm not saying all HOAs are bad. Some people love them. I live in one. The rules work for the lifestyle, but the mistake is thinking you have to be in one of these communities to have a good retirement. You don't have to be in a retirement community. You don't have to be in a lock and leave neighborhood. There are plenty of great neighborhoods in Winston-Salem with no HOAs where you can do what you want with your own property. And a lot of retirees avoid the 55+ communities because they think it makes them look old. But those communities are actually designed for social connection and staying active. If you want a community and you don't mind the rules, they can be great. The mistake isn't choosing an HOA or not choosing one. The mistake is not knowing what you're getting into before you sign. Read the restricted covenants way before you make an offer. If you see something that doesn't sit right, well, speak up, ask your agent. Don't assume you can get around it later. HOAs can be pretty strict about enforcing rules. And at the end of the day, pick a neighborhood that matches your personality and your lifestyle, not what you think you're supposed to want. So, the bottom line is Winston-Salem's got everything you need for retirement done right, but only if you avoid those traps before you sign. If you're serious about retiring here and you want help finding the neighborhood that actually fits your lifestyle, shoot me an email at blake@theginthergroup.com today. I'll walk you through the current market, show you which areas match what you're looking for, and help you avoid these mistakes before they cost you. All my contact information is in the description below. Check out my next video linked right here where I talk about everything new and coming soon to Winston-Salem. Don't miss out. Thank you very sincerely for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.